Hi everyone, I'm Joe. Today I'm going to be doing the Boujee Booktuber Tag. This tag was originally created by Olive from a book. Olive, I saw Shannon from That So Po do this tag. She didn't tag me to do the tag, but her answers were really interesting and really varied and made me think about my own book buying habits and preferences, which this tag is entirely focused on. There are 10 questions in total, and without further delay, I'll get started on talking about the questions because it really is self-explanatory overall. So the first question is, what is your average monthly budget for books? And I would say overall, I don't really have a budget for books alone. I do have one for entertainment overall though. As most people, I have a part of my income I class as being disposable, and part of that indeed towards entertainment budget. This includes things like, of course, books, but also going to the cinema and buying music and many other things. However, 2 years ago, this budget was unaffected by other financial things like travel because I wasn't travelling. However, in 2018, I went to the San Jose, California Worldcon. This year, I went to the Dublin Ireland Worldcon, and next year, I'm going to the New Zealand Worldcon, which is going to cost even more again. So the fact that I'm suddenly starting to travel each year is an interesting question and an interesting thing for me to think about because the money for obviously this travel has to come from somewhere, and at the moment, it basically is annihilating my entertainment budget. All the money that I would spend on things like music and books is now being spent entirely on travel. I need to figure out how to sort of get the balance right, however, because I don't want this to continue for very long. I obviously will get it figured out. It won't take me that long to do, but it's just a curious sort of balancing act that I haven't had to do for some years because everything's been very stable for a long time now. Because I haven't suddenly picked up new hobbies in a long time. Suddenly travelling finally, which I've always wanted to do, is a new thing to add to the equation. Learn to think about it in a new way, which is always really interesting. The second question is, what's the most you've ever spent in a bookstore? And actually that would be around £60, which I think would be around $70 last time I checked the exchange rate. And that was last year in my local Waterstones. My local Waterstones happens to be the largest Waterstones in the UK outside of the London area. However, it is pretty much the only bookstore I have access to. Where I live in the West Midlands in the UK is not known for literature at all. It's actually kind of known for the opposite. It's really bad for it. So I have access to no independent or no used bookstores at all. And I only have one used bookstore, the Waterstones. So my book buying choices in terms of physical bookstores are limited, which is a shame, but it's just one of those things that happens. The third question is, are you willing to pay full price for a brand new release, or will you wait until you have a coupon or there's a sale? And for this, it's actually quite simple, and that is no, not really. I rarely buy brand new releases as and when they are actually indeed classed as new. I generally wait 6 months and then buy them on a massively reduced offer. I do that on most things, to be honest, not just books. I dislike buying or spending full price money on anything, and I very, very rarely do this. It's kind of like a point of pride with me that I don't spend full price on everything. I get things normally at a massively reduced price. Of course, sometimes I will if it's something that I'm really, really eager for, but it's fairly rare, to be honest. Though it's not normally an issue. Question 4 is, would you rather buy one new book or several less expensive used copies? And for this, I would actually say I would prefer several used copies. However, as I previously mentioned, I don't have access to used bookstores. And yes, before you mention it, I know you can buy used books online, of course, but that hasn't gone so well for me in the past. So I'm a bit wary of that. So as a result, it tends to be new books. It's not a problem because, as I've said, my book buying habits tend to be such that I buy almost entirely used, reduced books on offer and such. That's why my book buying is quite random. Sometimes I'll suddenly buy a bunch of books in one genre or something. That's because a particular website or something will have an offer on a particular genre of book or subgenre. So I'll make use of that and buy a lot of books in that area. Question 5 is, what do you think is a reasonable price for a new hardback, a new paperback and a new ebook? Now, as you can tell from my bookshelf, and if you know me, you will know this anyway, I'm not a fan of hardbacks. They are quite large and bulky for the most normal reading purposes. You know, you can't really carry them out with you, so I generally don't like them. So generally I would say about £12 because those are about as most as I would pay due to them being generally unusual circumstances, like for instance the Discord collector's editions, which I bought a year and a half ago now. I did pay a massively reduced price on those books. For most people would be paying well over £10. I was paying £6 per Discord book, which I was quite pleased about. As far as the paperbacks book go, generally I try not to pay more than £8 for a paperback. Generally a lot less than that. Often I'm paying £6 for a book because my book buying habits are such that obviously I can make the prices be quite heavily reduced, which I'm always quite pleased about. And when I can get books for like £4 or something brand new, which I do surprisingly often, I feel quite pleased then because I've managed to buy books at a massively reduced price and they're brand new. So I feel quite pleased with myself there. And as far as ebooks go, however, I would say about £5 maximum, because to me ebooks equal my Kindle, which is almost right above my head there, which means Amazon. And if I'm buying an ebook, that means I'm not buying the book, that I'm merely kind of like a uncertain long-term rental from them. I can't say when they might change their rules. They might suddenly decide that I can't have access to the books no longer, or I've got some other requirement involved. So I don't like spending a lot of money on ebooks. I mean, I'm not getting anything physically for it anyway. All I'm getting is allowing access to a computer file. I'm not even getting a physical thing that I can actually say, right, this is mine. You can now download it as much as you want. You can add it to friends, you can't. I'm the only one that can read it. So buying something that I can't do anything else with other than just me seems pretty bad personally, so I don't like spending a lot of money on it overall. So question 6 is a signed book worth more to you? How about a first edition? And this is quite simply no, none at all. I don't care about signed editions, and I do not care about first editions either. The only signed books I have on my shelves, which I have a good dozen of at this point, I've had signed myself in person, and I've talked to the author in question, and I've really enjoyed that. It's the experience of meeting the author, frankly, not about the signed books. So the signed books is just an additional extra. I'm not bothered in the slightest, and it's been fun though meeting the authors. As you know, I've met certain authors like Stephen Baxter, and I was able to talk to him for 10 minutes and really talk about his preference in books as well, which was really fun to do. It's the things like that I prefer, not the books themselves. The books to be read, not to be collected. Question 7 is, what is your most valuable book? Sentimental or actual value? And for this, I'd say I haven't really got an answer for either part of this, because for actual value, none of my books are that expensive, frankly. I mean, it's probably a graphic novel, because graphic novels tend to be fractionally more expensive to buy in the UK, but again, not by much, so there's not really any difference there. And as far as sentimental goes, well, I'm not sentimental. I'm not that kind of person. To me, a book is an object to be read. Obviously, I try to keep it in as good condition as I can manage, because of course, you know, if you don't take good care of your books, they will be very badly conditioned, and then they'll end up being destroyed, and you're wasting money in the long term. So if I can keep my books in good condition forevermore, so be it. You know, I'm saving myself money in the long run. But as far as actual, you know, some sort of special reason why I like a book, no, I don't do that. I mean, as you might know, and I've showed it in videos, I used to have a load of Discord books in paperback, and I used to wave them around quite often, because I used to make a point of saying, you know, the first books I ever read were Discord books. Yeah, those books I used to wave around. I don't have any more. I actually gave them away when I bought my Discord collector's edition, because they're just books. At the end of the day, you know, they are physical objects. You can buy more, and I have in some cases. Question 8 is, will you pay more for a cover or edition you like better? And I'd have to say yes overall. I mean, as I've just mentioned, the Discworld collector's editions were a replacement for books I'd already owned, but I bought them for a massively reduced price, as I said, so I don't mind as much. But generally, I will to a certain degree, like if I've obviously already got a book in one particular cover design, then I will try, where possible, to get them in the same cover design, but you can't always manage it. For instance, my Peter F. Hamilton up here, I bought them in the older design by Pan, which has actual illustrations on the cover. Now they just do this different design where the spines are this stripy horizontal design, which I do not like, but unfortunately you can't buy the older designs, so I've had to start buying them in that. It's not a preference of mine, but sometimes you can't help but do these things when they become unavailable to buy, or at least very difficult to buy. Just one of those things. That's a shame, but so be it. You know, I want to read the books more than I want to have some sort of lovely designer books on my shelf, frankly. Question 9 is, what physical characteristics does a good quality book have? And for this there is only one answer, and that is a book that is well made and does not fall apart very quickly. I want books that I can read again and again and again, because I do read books again and again and again. As you know, from if you saw some of my older books, like the Discworld books I no longer have, those books were literally in pieces. There were multiple pages falling out of them because I'd read them so many times, in some cases more than 100 times, they were literally collapsed on themselves. And I've got other books that are in pretty bad condition because I've simply read them so much that they're also starting to deteriorate a fair bit. But this is not a problem, because, you know, books are there to be read, not to be stuck on a shelf and just, oh yes, that's a very nice book. I don't know what it's about because I never read it. No, I don't do that. A book should look like a book, and it should be read. You know, if this spine's got a lot of wear, to me that's fine. It's well loved and well read and well liked, which is important. You know, and other characteristics of a book, don't really care about, frankly. You know, if you can have a nice spine where it's got a designed spine where the font is easy to read, I'd prefer that as well, though. I would have to say that. And question 10 is, if you won the lottery, what bookish things would you do with the money? And for this, I don't really have an answer, because for one thing, I wouldn't do the lottery anyway, because it's frankly stupid to do that. I mean, if I was going to do anything with money, which I do, I've got it invested in various places, so, you know, and that does bring me money back. But as far as the lottery goes, no. But if I had to go with the spirit of the question, then I'd say the only thing I'd do is literally travel, booktube travel in particular. I'd go and visit the various people that I know in their part of the world, ideally, and we can hang out in their part of the world, to do stuff, go to bookstores, go to their libraries, they can show me around, and it used to be really funny, like when I've gone to the world cons, but I could just visit people in various parts of the world, and it'd just be really fun. I'd love to do that. And to be honest, I'm planning to do that without needing to win the lottery anyway, because it's not excessively hard to do. It just takes a bit of time to get arranged. So that plan is one that will happen eventually. It just takes a while because it's not easy to plan visiting various people in multiple different locations. And the bonus question is, give us an image, actual or mental, of your dream home library. And for this, it's a question that I've never actually considered, because I don't really have a dream home library. To me, a home library is a room that is both got decent natural light, that is both soundproof ideally. This room, by the way, is almost soundproof, although I do have kind of noisy neighbours on both sides. It can be a real pain. And one that you actually enjoy spending time in, because when you read, obviously it takes time to do, even at my reading speed. So I don't really have an image in mind, just a nice room that matches those characteristics. You know, in a nice environment, frankly. Maybe if the window has a nice view, mine has a view of a road and a house opposite. It is not interesting in the slightest, but you know, it's fine. It's not a horrible view, it's just a dull view. You know, I'm not that concerned. You know, it is what it is. You know, and one day it won't be. One day it will be something different, because I do not plan to always live here. Actually, I'd like to move sooner rather than later, actually, because for various reasons. Anyway, with that said, that is it for this tag. Now, I wasn't tagged myself, so I'm not going to tag anybody else. However, if you think you can give some really interesting answers to this and interest you, then please feel free to consider yourself to be tagged by me. All my social media links can be found in the description box below, along with the 2 people I mentioned at the start of the video. And that said, that is it for this video. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you another time. Bye for now.